Welcome to the Ambrogio Remote App tutorial. In this tutorial, we will navigate around the app with an iOS Apple device. I will show the remote functions available on all Elite models. I will show the basic setup features so your robot can start to work. These include the following: weekly time schedule settings as shown in the user manual, return to charge settings, and garden settings specific to your lawn sizes. See here we've got a map of the lawn we're going to use to set up the robot in the examples that we'll show in the next tutorial. The total area of the lawn is 700 square meters. We've got a diagram in there showing how you will see the working time schedules in the manual. We're now going to connect the app via Bluetooth so that we can change the weekly time and date schedules, the return to charge station settings, rain sensor. So let's begin. We'll open up the app. We're going to connect to the robot in my garage called Frankie. And we'll see here that the green ribbon at the bottom of the app screen, the middle icon says setup. So we'll click on setup. We'll then click on robot settings. And it will open up the accessory pairing window. So we'll now wait for this particular case. We have a Ambrogio 20 Elite. That's the model, so we'll wait for that to populate that accessory window. This can take some time, so be patient, providing that you're within Bluetooth reach of the robot, i.e. next to it, this will populate. There we have it. We can see the Ambrogio 20 Elite. I'm now going to click onto that and we'll connect with the robot. It's now reading the configuration. Robot settings again, and we can see here we've got some windows here. The date and the time setting at the top, we don't have to worry about that. As soon as we connect with the robot via Bluetooth, it will set the correct date and time according to the settings in your iPhone. So that's automatic. So first of all, we're going to look at the robot settings. And in here, we can see the different icons that we have here that we can edit the robot with. The main one we're going to look at now is the weekly schedule. So we can see here that the robot's already got a default time and settings in that schedule. So if we just click on Monday, we'll see here that the standard default time is 8:30 till 22:30. We're going to look at the setting for this for 700 square meters, and the time in the user manual for 700 square meters for a 20 Elite is 9 a.m. until 1900. So that's 9 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock in the evening. So let's edit those. You can see on the screen there in T1, it's the first time setting they have is T1. There's two blue icons at the right of the screen there, one which is a bin and one is a pen for edit. So we'll click on the edit button, and here we can change the time to be 9 o'clock. Okay, and the stop time is going to be 7 o'clock, which is 1900. Okay, so that's set that time. If we then tick in the green ribbon above those times, there's a tick box. If we tick that, that will then save that time on Monday. Okay, if we scroll that down and go back to the bars that we can see that Monday is different to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If we press our finger on Monday, we can click on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and save that, and then it will then copy Monday's times into all of the other dates there. We can also edit the setting for B to be border clean. Border clean is where we can set the robot off on a schedule to go around the perimeter of the lawn, with the robot travelling directly over the wire with the blades operating to tidy up the edge of the lawn. So you only need that to be on a couple of times a week. Probably once will be enough, but for the purpose of this, we're going to set it up to be on a Monday and a Thursday. We don't need it on every day. So if we go into Monday there, you can see here, we've got the facility to be able to put border cut. So we'll go to the edit button, tick the box that says border cut, tick again to save it, scroll that down, and we can see now that in Monday, we have a tick box in those bars. If we hold our finger on Monday and copy that to Thursday, we can now see that on a Monday and a Thursday, we have the border cut. This will operate by the robot for the very first operation of the day. At 9 o'clock, it will come out of the base station and do a border cut. We go back into the screen here. We can look at these. We've got the charge setting. So in the charge setting, we can ask the robot to travel back to the base station, charge station, in 3 different modes. We can either ask it to follow the wire, and following the wire means if you've got a complex lawn or narrow passageways, that's the setting to be, that's the standard default. Or we can choose the minimum. If we read in the window of the explanation there, this will let the robot travel back to the charge station inside the lawn, parallel to the wire. So you can try these settings and see whether or not your robot will still get back to the base station using either the minimum or the max situation here. So the distance wire refers to the distance from the edge of the wire, either minimum or maximum, for the robot to travel back, but not travel directly over the wire. We also have the rain sensor. By default, the rain sensor is on. If we want that to be off, we'll click the button at the bottom here. We've got off, on, and the delay lets us edit the amount of time that the robot will stay in the base station. So if we change the delay, so if it rains, then the robot will stay in the base station for 4 hours until it attempts another operation. If we've set up our robot and we have got some rainy or miserly conditions, and we want to make sure that maybe just for the first week it's operating according to the schedule and not being subject to the rain sensor stopping the operation, turn the rain sensor off for the first week or so, just to check that all the settings are correct and the robot's coming out to mow, and then you can then choose to either put the rain setting back on again in this place. Okay. We're now going to take a look at the garden settings, and we're going to edit the garden settings to be for a lawn size of 700 square meters. So if we just open up the app there, into the icon, we can now see we've got the series of the start points, the area settings. We're going to use 3 of these. So for 700 square meters, we're going to use 3. So we'll divide the 700 meters by 3, which gives us 3 separate start points with area sizes of 233 meters. And on the lawn size, we're going to see that we're going to start one of the operations in area 1, 10 meters from the base station, another area 2, 50 meters from the base station, and area 3 we're going to set to be 60 meters. So we'll edit those now in the app. So if we click onto A1, if we press the X mark at the end of dimensions, that area will be 233 square meters. The distance we want it to travel to the first start point is 10. We're happy with the robot to travel on the wire, so the V metering will be off, that's correct, and we want it to go anti-clockwise to that start point. Notice there we've got eco mode. Eco mode is a facility the robot has to be able to limit the amount of time it spends on the lawn. Only use this particular application on a very small lawn area. If you had a lawn area of maybe under 100 square meters, you could use this facility. What it does in eco mode is the robot will leave the base station, travel in the lawn. If within half an hour it's detected no current needed to the blade, i.e. there's no grass to cut, then it will say there's no grass to cut. It will return to the charge station. But bear in mind, it will remain in the charge station for the rest of that day. And it won't start the schedule till the next day. And if indeed the next day there still isn't any grass detected, it will return to the base station. So only use the eco mode on a very small lawn. Area 2 we're now going to set. So the distance for this will be 233 square meters. And for this one, for area 2, we're going to ask the robot to travel 50 meters in a clockwise direction. So 50 meters. And we're going to ask the robot to travel in the minimum parallel running to the wire. Notice here we've got directions, and we can either have clockwise or anti-clockwise. We're choosing for this particular one clockwise, so we're happy with that setting. Then we're going to go to 3. Once again, that's 233 square meters. The distance we want this to travel is 60 meters. We also want this to travel in the minimum distance from the wire. And we want this to travel anti-clockwise. So again, that set those areas up. So if we now tick the box, that's completed the setup for those areas. Okay. We'll now take a look at the cloud function, so we're able to see the robot via the cloud. This app function is available on all Elite models. The ZCS Connect that enables this function allows you to connect and interact with the robot anytime from anywhere in the world with your own smartphone or tablet. By using the Ambrogio remote app, it is possible to change the profiles of the working time of the robot, track your robot through its GPS, and even temporarily stop it from mowing a part of the lawn without having to move the wire. You will also be able to receive alerts if your robot ever moves out of the lawn area, and you'll receive updated status of the robot, whether it's working, charging, going to area, going to station. So let's open up Frankie again, and we'll have a look at how those functions work. Note here that the last update says online. That means we've got live connection with the robot. If there was a date and a time in there, that wouldn't be live, and therefore we'd have to wait for that to populate to become online. So first of all, we'll look at the profiles. We can see we've got profile 1, 2, and 3. If you remember from the tutorial, we spoke about setting up different profiles on the robot with Bluetooth connection. If we set these up, we're able to swap for the different times. So the standard time that we had set up on the robot was 9 o'clock until 1900 hours. And we may have different times set up in profile 2 and different times set up in profile 3. So that's where we can change those. And those are changed remotely. We can't alter the time schedules in this function, but we can command it to obey the schedules we've already preset. We look in the commands button here. First of all, we'll look at the keep out function. In the keep out function, this will show us a map. If we open the map up on our tablet and hold our finger on the area of the lawn that we want to temporarily prevent the robot, delimiting the robot from going to that area, you can see the flag on our lawn at the front of the Ambrogio offices here. We can increase or decrease that area size. We can set the time up to 24 hours in advance. And then by pressing the tick box at the bottom of the screen there and the save button, that will stop the robot from going to that area for up to 24 hours. If we now look at the work until, we can select here a time that we want the robot to operate to, and this can be outside the normal working schedule. So in the case that our robot finished at 9 o'clock or finished at moreover at 1900, if we wanted to send the robot out at say 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock for any reason, we could do that. It'll work outside the working schedule. We can select which area we want it to go to. We're going to select area 1 here, then we're going to press the send button. It will say the command successful. I'll just close that screen, and now we can see that the robot screen is now showing that it's working. So that's notifying us now that the status has changed from charging to working. If we go back into the commands button here and we go charge until, this will send the robot back to the base station. So again, we can select a time we want to do that. We can also select a day for it to stay in the charge station. So if we wanted it not to come out for the rest of the day, today's Friday, we'll say we don't want it to come out till tomorrow at 11:31. And if we send that command, it says the command was sent successfully. And we'll see now that the status has changed and the robot is going back to the base station to recharge. Once it's done that, that status will change from go to station to charging. If we look at the bottom screen here, which I'm moving, just above the green ribbon at the bottom, we can see there's an arrow, the part of an arrow. If we click on that, this will open up the screen and populate that with a location for the robot. Notice that this is inside a building here. That's our Ambrogio offices here. And I've got this particular robot operating inside the building, so that's why that location is not on the front lawn, it's inside the building. So we can still see that the robot's showing going to the station. I can see the robot's in front of me. That's about to enter the base station, and we'll see now that the status changes from going to station to charging. There we have it. We've covered in this tutorial the Bluetooth settings via the remote app to set up the robot's time schedule and the garden area sizes and the back to base station. We're now going to have a look and see what other advanced settings that we can look at on the robot and what they mean. So let's just connect with Frankie again. So in order to be able to join it with the Bluetooth, we're going to go to the setup button, press the robot settings, and once again it will open up the window here to select accessory. The iOS connection on this is an iOS feature, will scroll through all of the available Bluetooth connections, and this sometimes can be slow. Depends on your phone whether this is quick or fast, but we do have to wait for this to populate. There we have it, the Ambrogio 20 Elite. So we're going to connect. So just to recap, if we go to the home button, we can see here the GSM bars for the SMS connection, GSM connection on the robot. We can see that's got 5 bars. The middle icon there shows us the GPS connection, that's live with good connection. It shows us the status of the battery, that's 100%. If we go back into the setup and go to the robot settings, we've covered the customization, the date settings, we've covered the robot settings and the garden settings. Let's just have a brief look into the installation here to show you what some functions. The air marker allows us to be able to have the robot see the base station either nearer to the base station or farther away. The air marker of the docking shift allows us to slightly shift the position of the robot in the base station right or left. And probably the one that we will need to change is the wire settings. This is the settings that we can set to allow the robot either a greater or smaller distance for the robot to travel over the wire. When it arrives at the wire in working mode, it will arrive at the wire, slightly go over the wire, and then reverse, turn, and head off in a new trajectory into the lawn. The default is maximum. I would advise that you use, to start with, the minimum. If you've got some flushed areas, if you have some patios, tiled areas that are flush with the lawn, that would be an area where you want to use the maximum. If you've got lots of flower beds and drop borders, I would be inclined to use the minimum. When we've set that up, if we tick the box in the top there, it will save that particular setting. We look at the security here. We can change the robot password. So if we change here, we put the default password in, which is the default password that's written in the user manual. We then enter the new password, new 4 numbers that we want to use for the new password, and then repeat them again. And that will now save a new number as your password. I would advise this is done very quickly after you've bought the robot. This is a security feature on the robot. The pin startup is there, and the security lock is on the robot. If you want to delimit it, if you want to take off the settings for operating the robot on the keypad or on the touch screen. So if you don't want interference, it might be that you've got young children that would fiddle with the buttons. If you turn the screen lock on, then it would require the app to connect with it and put the pin number in to operate those. I think generally speaking, unless you need this facility because you've got someone that you feel might interfere with the keypad and the settings robot, I think personally I would probably not use this particular feature, as you'll find it frustrating if every time that you want to command the robot to go to work or go back to home, you've got to have the app in your pocket to put the password in. About the factory reset. The factory reset will return the robot to the status when you got it out of the box. So all the default times in the time schedule, which will be 8:30 to 22:30, and the default, everything was default, so the area guard. So if you've got 3 areas, it will default that back to 1 area, which is 500 square meters. So this is not a function to use unless you really mean to change and restart all the scheduling and the garden settings of the robot. So just bear that in mind. The sound setting here is the robot will make a slight sound noise when it goes into the mow mode or when it goes back into the charge station. So if you don't want that, you can turn that off there. Next feature I'd like to show you, which you may be called upon. It might be that you have something you don't understand about the robot and you're speaking remotely to us here at Ambrogio UK, or you're talking to your dealer and the dealer may request for you to send a report. This is really a very, very good method of seeing how the robot's set. It may be that a robot setting has changed, you're not aware of it because of your lack of familiarity with the product, whereas the dealer or us here at Ambrogio UK will see that setting and say, did you mean to have, maybe it's that you put the eco mode on to the robot and you didn't know it. We'll see that straight away in the event. So in the events there, we'll press on that and it will give us the last 2 days. So it'll give us today and yesterday, that's the 16th and the 15th. Just choose a couple of days. If all we want to see is the setting to the robot, just use a couple of days there and download the report. So this will read the configuration and open it. You'll see here it's downloading a number of logs. Now, we've had this robot on our carpet here, on our training carpet, working for a little bit, so there'll be thousands and thousands. So do just take your time. It may take much longer than I've just demonstrated. So here we can just see briefly the report. Okay, you'll notice in the green ribbon at the top of this report, there's a couple of boxes there with an arrow on it. That's the share button. So if we upload this, first of all, it will upload this data to the server, and then it will open a window to allow you to do something with the report. So if we open the email and we send that, in this case, maybe to Robot Workshop here, that's us here at Ambrogio, and then we would send that. With that report, we're able to pop that report out, put it onto a screen, and see all your settings very, very quickly. So if you are asked to send an event or send a report from the robot, that's the area that you do, and it's very, very useful for us to do. Here, if when you set up the robot in Elite, if you didn't to start with, connect it via the GSM card, you're able to proceed here and carry out that function. Okay, because I'm already connected, it's completed that very quickly. And then it will ask us to set the geofence up. So the geofence is a radius around the lawn that you have, that if the robot is removed from that area, it will track the robot and give you indication of where that is. If you didn't do this on initial setup, you can do it here. So those are some of the other features. You'll notice here at the top of the screen here, there's an area to look at the manuals. We can select the manuals for the robot here in the case of the 20, and that will list where all the manuals are. If we go back there, you'll notice there's an update button. At the moment, that's grayed out. The update function just temporarily isn't available. That will be available in season. So that completes the part 3 of the tutorial to show you some of the advanced features.